Indeed, my friends, Jordan is Palestine. Look at the map of this part of the world after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire following the First World War. Both contemporary Israel and contemporary Jordan were part of the British Mandate of Palestine. And as you know, in the year 1922, the British partitioned Palestine into Cisjordan and Transjordan, the latter comprising 78% of the territory of Palestine. The British handed that territory over to their ally, the Hashemite strongman Abdallah ibn Hussein. Abdallah was the son of the Emir Hussein bin Ali, guardian of the Islamic holy city of Mecca. And the Hashemites belong to the Quraysh tribe, the tribe of Islam founder Muhammad. They are, as a matter of fact, the real foreign body in Palestine. And in 1946, Transjordan became an independent state under this Hashemite rule. In November 1947, as you of course know, the United Nations proposed to partition the remaining 22% of Palestine. And the territory between the Jordan River and the sea was divided in a Jewish part and an Arab part. The Jewish representative accepted this United Nations partition plan, but the Arab representatives refused. And in an attempt to drive all the Jews in the sea, they began the 1948 war, which luckily they lost. But they took revenge, however, on the Jews in East Jerusalem and the rest of Cisjordan, the ancient provinces of Judea and Samaria, held by the Arab forces. This entire region at that time was ethnically cleansed of all Jews. Even the names of Judea and Samaria were at that time wiped off the map and replaced by the ridiculous term West Bank, a river bank of over 40 kilometers wide. Israel, including Judea and Samaria, has been the land of the Jews since time immemorial. Judea means land of the Jews. And never in the history of the world has there been an autonomous state in the area that was not Jewish. The diaspora of the Jews, which began after their defeat by the Romans in AD 70, did not lead to the departure of all Jews from their ancient homeland. Jews had been living in the Jordan Valley for centuries until the Arab invaders drove them out in 1948, when the provinces of Judea and Samaria were occupied by the Hashemite kingdom of Transjordan, which abbreviated its name to Jordan in 1950. And until 1967, when Israel regained the ancient Jewish heartland of Judea and Samaria, no one, not even a single Islamic scholar or a Western politician ever demanded that there be an independent Palestinian state in the so-called West Bank. So must Israel today, must Israel trade land for peace? Should it assign Judea and Samaria to another Palestinian state, a second one next to Jordan? My friends, let me be very, very clear. The conflict in the Middle East is not a conflict over territory, but rather an ideological battle. People are mistaken. People are so mistaken when they assume that giving up Judea and Samaria and East Jerusalem and letting the Palestinians have it will end the conflict between Israel and the Arabs. In 2005, Israel sacrificed the settlements in Gaza for the sake of peace. And I ask you, did you get any peace? On the contrary, Because the conflict is essentially ideological, the situation only worsened. Because the conflict is ideological, territorial concessions are counterproductive. Ideologies cannot be defeated by concessions. They are encouraged and emboldened by it. Ideologies must be confronted with the iron will never to give in. Never, never, never in nothing, great or small, large or petty. And that is the lesson which the world learned, and with those exact words from Winston Churchill when he confronted the evil ideology of Nazism. And this conflict here in the Middle East is not about land and borders, but it's about Islamic jihadism opposing Western liberty. From the moment that Israel was founded, the Arab leaders have rejected every partition plan and every initiative for territorial settlement. And why? Why? Because the Islamic ideology simply does not accept the concept of a Jewish state. Neither Hamas or Fatah are willing to recognize the right of the Jewish people for a state of their own in their historic homeland. No, I cannot repeat it enough, no territorial concession on Israel's part can and will ever change that. Don't let anybody fool you. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel's ideological enemies want to wipe Israel out as a nation. They simply deny the Jewish state the right to exist and to live in peace, dignity and liberty. For the sake of its own survival and security, Israel needs defendable borders. A country that is only 15 kilometers wide is impossible, almost impossible to defend. And that is an extra strategic reason why Jews need to settle in Judea and Samaria. Therefore, the Jewish towns and villages in Judea and Samaria are not an impediment to peace. They are an expression of the Jewish right to exist in their own land. They are tiny outposts of freedom, defying ideological forces which deny not only Israel, but the entire West to live in peace, dignity and liberty. And let us please never forget that Islam threatens not only Israel. Islam threatens the entire world. Without Judea and Samaria, Israel cannot protect Jerusalem. And the future of the world as a symbol of freedom depends on Jerusalem. If Jerusalem falls today, Athens and Rome, Amsterdam and Paris will fall tomorrow. Thus, Jerusalem is the main front protecting our common civilization. When the flag of Israel no longer flies over the walls of the old city of Jerusalem, the West will no longer be free. However, a peaceful solution must also be found for the many Palestinians in the refugee camps in Lebanon, Gaza and elsewhere. Each year, hundreds of millions of euros and dollars are spent on the Palestinian refugees in international aid. And the financial assistance, however, did not provide the refugees a new home, a place to live, a place to live and build for a future for their children and grandchildren. But it's obvious. It's obvious where this place should be. It should be Palestine. Just as after the Second World War, the obvious place for the German refugees from the east to go was Germany. And since Jordan is Palestine, it's the duty of the Jordanian government to welcome all Palestinian refugees who voluntarily want to settle there. And until the late 1980s, Jordan's Hashemite rulers did not deny, let's not forget, they did not deny that their country was in fact Palestine. They said it on numerous occasions. In 1965, King Hussein said, and I quote, "Those organizations which seek to differentiate between Palestinians and Jordanians are traitors," end of quote. But even as late as the year 1981, King Hussein said, and I quote again, "Jordan is Palestine and Palestine is Jordan," end of quote. And in March 1971, the Palestinian National Council too stated that, and I quote, "What links Jordan to Palestine is a national bond, formed since time immemorial by history and culture. The establishment of one political entity in Transjordan and another in Palestine is illegal," end of quote. But by the late 70s, the Arab authorities began to differentiate between Jordanians and Palestinians. What was previously considered to be treason and illegal suddenly became the new propaganda line. And in March 1977, a PLO executive committee member called Zahir Moursain admitted in an interview with a Dutch newspaper called Trouw, one of the worst newspapers of the world, but still, let me quote him for once. In that newspaper, he said the following: Only for political and tactical reasons do we speak today about the existence of a Palestinian people. Since Arab national interests demand that we posit the existence of a distinct Palestinian people to oppose Zionism. For tactical reasons, Jordan, which is a sovereign state with defined borders, cannot lay claim on Haifa and Jaffa. While, as a Palestinian, he said to this Dutch newspaper, I undoubtedly can demand Haifa, Jaffa, Beersheba and Jerusalem. However, the moment we reclaim our right to all of Palestine, we will not wait even a minute to unite Palestine and Jordan. End of quote. And of course you all know and remember the year 1988 as the first Intifada raged and Jordan officially renounced any claim of sovereignty to the so-called West Bank. And in a recent year, the Jordanian authorities have stripped thousands of Palestinians of their Jordanian citizenship. And they did so, and they do so for two reasons. First, because the alien Hashemite rulers fear that the Palestinians may one day take over their own country. And second, because stripping Palestinians of their Jordanian citizenship support the falsehood that Jordan is not part of Palestine, and that, consequently, the Palestinians must fight Israel if they want a place of their own. But arbitrarily reducing thousands of their citizens, Jordanian citizens, to statelessness, Jordanian authorities want to force the Palestinians to turn their aspirations towards the establishment of another Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria. And this decision to them is a great injustice committed by the Hashemite rulers of Jordan, the foreign clan which the British installed. Ladies and gentlemen,